A season battle began 2 weeks ago in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin at the 4 Mile Road America. 40 drivers took on the first round of the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, all with the hope that they might be the one to win this championship. Why race so hard? Why put it all on the line? Because if you win this Sim Racing Championship, you could win yourself the opportunity of a lifetime to climb behind the wheel of a real race car. We've seen in the past that every single race counts, but with 2 races in the books so far, only 1 driver has taken the checkered flag first, Nathan Saxon. There's a 0 in the wins column for every other driver, and you won't win this championship without winning something else first. This is SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, round 2 of 9. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by TC America champion and IMSA race winner Tom O'Gorman for our second round of this 9-round season. Tom, welcome back to Winding Road and SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, a home race for many in the United States, Summit Point Raceway.
And a very different race than last week's Road America. You could tell watching last week at Road America that there's a lot on the line, and the drivers knew it. They raced so hard, but it was really impressive to watch Nathan Saxon come out and really control those races. We'll see if he can continue to do that or if someone else can dethrone him.
Absolutely. Huge thanks to our partners that are with us this season, SPEC MX-5 Winding Road Level Up Racing School, as well as one of our other partners that's with us this season as well. We'll get to in just a moment, explain why they're important here. When we get into qualifying, let's go over the racetrack. We're at Summit Point Raceway here, Tom. This is a 2-mile racetrack, 10 corners around here. Take me through a lap. It all starts with a very, very long front straightaway.
An incredibly long front straightaway with a big braking zone. A couple of really key points to that braking zone that we'll get to, but it's an increasing radius sweep through turn 2 and then up through turn 3. Easy to go off there. Then it's down through the chute at turn 4. A tricky braking zone for a couple of hairpins at turn 5, 6, and then the S's 7, 8, 9. Very rhythmic. A little bit of a break, a very fast turn 10 back onto that front straightaway.
And we're going to do it a whole bunch of times. 2 races back-to-back tonight. with the race 1 results gridding our second race. But first we have to qualify. We will have 15 minutes for drivers to lay down their best lap time. And Tom, qualifying was important last week at Road America, probably even more important this week at Summit Point. It was easy to pass. We saw 4 wide on the backstretch at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. You're not going to see that here this week, or maybe we do.
Maybe we do. We have a fairly wide track. You know, Road America drives very narrow. This track doesn't drive super narrow down that front straight particularly, but I do think, as you mentioned, qualifying is going to be pretty important, as is finding somebody to work with, because every single time you come down that front straightaway is almost a complete reset for the lap. It's so long.
Well, of course, Penguin RC Simulation with us, supplying some prizing as well. And Penguin RC has some awesome sim racing hardware, including magnetic paddle shifters, iFlag units, and more. SCDA, the Sports Car Driving Association, with us this season. Founded in 1995, the Sports Car Driving Association provides the driving enthusiasts the opportunity to experience high-performance driving in a safe and controlled environment. SCDA events are non-competitive and driver educational with a focus on safety and fun. SCDA welcomes everyone from novices with no track experience, as well as a seasoned track driver and racers. We invite you to explore them at www.scda1.com. Link is in the description below to check that out. Again, my name's Kyle Heyer with Tom O'Gorman. Tom, you've raced professionally in the real world. You've been in the heat of the battle in TCR cars and TCA cars and World Challenge. But MX-5, something about them. They're so much fun. There's a reason why they're popular on track days as well. But everyone's sitting in pit lane waiting to qualify these things, because the cool thing about these cars is how close it is from the front of the field to the back.
And if you're wondering what's happening right now, they actually have a virtual drivers meeting where everybody comes together. A couple of stewards talk to the drivers just as they would in real life, and they're all going through that process right now. But as you mentioned, there's a ton of them. If you go back to that pit lane shot, you'll see just how deep 40 cars fills this pit lane. You know, at Road America, 4 miles, 10 cars a mile, that's not that crazy. But here we've got about half the amount of track, and that pit lane is just crammed full. We're actually sharing pit stalls in a couple of spots, and then in any moment now, they're all going to swarm onto the track for qualifying.
They're going to turn them loose here in just a moment. A little bit more about Summit Point in West Virginia. Population just about 53,000 people in this area. Quite populous considering there's not a lot of people around this racetrack here in the virtual world. Constructed in 1970, Paul Newman, a name you might recognize, ran many of his early career races at Summit Point Raceway. Cool little tidbit for those that have been around. This is a classic American road course, Tom. Might not have the same sort of feel that tracks like Road Atlanta, Watkins, Glen might have, but it still plays a huge role in club-level racing as well as for SPEC MX-5. So this is a great place to contest our second round as we continue to wait for the drivers to roll off the grid. I'm surprised it's taken them so long. There's Steve Ficacci rolling forward and staging here, but still no takers. Now a few are rolling off, and it's going to be very, very busy as we leave the pit lane here and onto the front straightaway. Find a drafting buddy here, Tom. Get in line. Use that front car to push the air out of the way. It's going to get very, very busy and very hectic here for the next 12 minutes.
Yeah, finding that open track is critical right now. Finding maybe the teammate that you prefer to work with is going to be critical as well. And we saw a number of our front runners actually working together last week at Road America. I don't know if that was a coincidence or a gentleman's agreement that they know they can trust each other and would rather race together and break away from the field than be stuck in the field. But you know, when you're coming into these nights and you expect 15 minutes of qualifying, now you're going to end up with less than 10 minutes of hot lapping. The pressure's on even more.
Have a look here at the weather information for this evening. Track temp is about 85 degrees Fahrenheit. The air temp is 80, so it's a nice warm day. It's quite cold here in Chicago where we are sitting right now, Tom, but in the virtual world, nice and toasty out there. We've got a couple keys to the race that we're going to go over before the race actually starts, but one of the points you wanted to touch on is the braking zone down into that first corner, Tom. We come out off the straightaway. That is a super, super long straight, and then you're down to basically second gear, and that downshifting process caught a couple people out at Road America last week, popping the motors if you downshift too early and over-rev the engine.
It did, yeah. Damage is every bit a factor here as it is in the real world. You have to take care of your equipment, and at Road America, we saw about a half a dozen motors blown on downshifts because engine braking is important. It helps you go quicker, but you know, flirting with that line, especially in the sim, is a little bit harder to feel than when you have a real engine revving at you right in front of your feet, warning you that you're pushing it a little too hard. So when these drivers are approaching that braking zone down into turn one, a number of them have said, especially later in the races when the brakes are starting to fade a bit on on the car, you have to use the engine braking as much as you possibly can, and you're basically forced to flirt with that limit of over-revving the engine. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of these things go boom tonight. I really hope we don't, but here in qualifying, you can bet that they're just zinging them to the moon, valves dancing on the hood, trying to escape as they're downshifting, looking for speed.
And here's Nathan Saxon in the number 16. He is the only driver to have race wins in the column next to his name here this season. We've only run one round, but we have 2 races per round. Saxon won both of them, but he didn't cross the line first in the second race at Road America, Tom. A little bit of drama between Brandon Hawken, a new driver here in the series, and Paul Darling on that last lap.
Yeah, they had an incident in the kink that ended up with a penalty, a 30-second penalty for this driver, Brandon Hawken. You see he's got the white base on his livery, which means he is a rookie to the season this time around. A gray livery like Nathan Saxon has means that he ran a partial season or did not finish in the top 20 points last season around. A black base means that they finished high in the championship last time around. So theoretically, like Paul Darling has there, the black liveries are the most experienced and most successful drivers in the SPEC MX-5 series. What was interesting, though, last week is we had an even mix of white, black, and gray cars up towards the front. Both 6 and 7 car breakaways kind of in that race. So it's easy to look at, but it doesn't necessarily mean much in some people's cases.
Well, I think what is going to mean quite a bit is drivers' past success in this series, and Nathan Saxon is showing that he's going to form his own success this year around. He's been in the series for 2 years, but I have never seen him fire out like that, winning both the first 2 races of the season. This is a car to watch. But the other driver that was involved in that crash, the guy that got penalized at the tail end of this race, a brand new driver. I don't care if he crashed Paul Darling last week. That showed me that he was fast. I don't care that he was involved in the crash. It's behind him now. He knows, I think, going into that situation, there's so much intensity, Tom. He knows that that wasn't necessarily going to work out. He knows that that was a chance for a penalty, but you got to take the chance. Brandon Hawken knows where the limit is now, and he's fast, so he's going to be a dangerous driver for all these guys that have been here for 3 years trying to win this.
Yeah, and he sits 4th right now. Looking at the points, he actually, even with the 30-second penalty, scored points in that race. He sits 7th in the championship, but it's Ryan Maloney that sits 2nd place and Jonathan White that sits 3rd. And both of those drivers were in that kind of 6-car breakaway that were really impressive to watch last week. But I got to say, the most impressive was still Saxon. He controlled the race whether he was leading or not. He was manipulating the cars around him in a way that only MX-5s require you to do, and specifically at Road America. Now, I don't think that this track, Summit Point, requires nearly the finesse of understanding, drafting, braking, etc., because it only happens once really here at Summit Point. It happens like 6 or 7 times at Road America. So it's a little bit of a simpler race, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be as chaotic.
Chris Henn is back, the postman. We were talking about him. He did a huge climb in the second race after having the first race go down south for him. So hopefully this week goes a little bit smoother for him. He's always had the pace, but he has not had the luck or the consistency to really be a significant threat in the championship. You'll notice he's got the black base livery, means he ran well last year, but he was not able to get the championship in either of the 2 previous runnings of this season. He has won races before. I believe he will win more races this season, but he's going to have to get the consistency figured out real quick, because you will not win a championship by winning a race and then crashing out. You've got to be consistent. You can have 1, maybe 2 mulligans, but you're not going to get more than that.
Taking a look down the list on the left side of your screen, Ismael Basso was one of the drivers that had engine problems last week. He sits 2nd on the grid, and another driver that had problems, we mentioned the penalty that was assessed. The victim in that penalty is Paul Darling. He sits 3rd on the board, and he still sits 8th in the championship even with that incident. So he's not out of this thing. Everybody's probably got at least 1 round of write-off you can expect. If someone goes a perfect season of good top 5s, that's just unbelievably impressive. So that 0 in Paul's second column there might not be the end of the world, but he sits P2, and he's actually, interestingly, at the front of a little group of cars kind of towing him with him.
So interesting to note that our next round, which will be on February 10th, a couple weeks from now, is actually going to be at Sonoma Raceway. And I actually would draw quite a few parallels between Summit Point and Sonoma, both in the track length. We're running the 2-mile layout, the short course, at Sonoma in a couple weeks. So we're actually running what NASCAR used to run. So I think Sonoma and Summit Point, to me, are very similar feeling racetracks in a lot of ways. But I think what's going to be really interesting is I'll bet you see a lot of the same drivers this week perform well at Sonoma, even even if they didn't at Road America. So we saw a really big track. Now we're getting to kind of the twistier, tighter tracks. Then we had to Mid-Ohio, which is kind of a mid-length, kind of medium flow. And then we go to Sebring, which is very similar in a lot of ways to Road America. So I think there's definitely pros and cons for some drivers. They like that tight and twisty versus the kind of the drafty packs that we've seen at last week's event.
And I'll steal a line from one of the competitors, Alex LaRose, who actually sits dead last on the leaderboard. I bet he doesn't end there. There he is in the 26, the white and maroon car. He said that he kind of identifies this track as one that doesn't have a lot of physical markings. It's kind of tough to pick up reference points because it's not like Road America where you're coming into a corner, you brake at the 3 board, and you brake all the way to the turn-in point. This is a little bit more of a field track, and I think Sonoma's the same. So I agree that this and Sonoma, although this track is almost flat, Sonoma's on a mountain. I agree that in that they have very little reference point. They revolve around a lot of feel and rhythm, more so than reference points. Those are going to be a little bit different. And just looking down the scoreboard right now for qualifying, I know it's not over yet, but there are a number of drivers that were not super successful last week that are doing great in qualifying now, and vice versa.
For sure, 4 minutes left here in the qualifying portion. As I mentioned, we'll have 2 20-minute races here tonight. Where you finish in race 1 sets your qualifying order for the second race. So if you have a bad race, you're going to start at the tail. If you have a great race, you'll start right up towards the front. So where you finish in both races, really the average of it is how you want to kind of treat this. Even though they don't give you trophies for being average, you're going to have to be exceptional tonight and going forward. Luke Pfeiffer in the 06, another driver that is making his return for the 3rd time, running 5th right now. Great qualifying effort for him. He's a driver that's always been a top 10, top 5 car, but struggled to get race wins. I think he might be close enough. This is, to me, the most competitive grid we've ever had, and I think we're going to see that reflected. Looking down the order, the top 3 all within a 1/10 of a second, and we've got how many cars? We've got 28 cars within a second here at Summit Point. That's pretty close. It's so impressive, and Pfeiffer sits 5th in qualifying, 5th in points. Right now, but he's actually got about half the number of points that Nathan Saxon has, so that perfect first round for Saxon really put him head and shoulders above on the points. Jonathan White also notably jumping up to 2nd place, and I'm noticing a lot of cars resetting for fresh tires on a final attempt here. We've got about 3.5 minutes left, and I noticed, as you see one there, pulling off to the side, resetting for fresh tires, trying to go again for every little bit because, as you mentioned, when the top 20-something are within the same second, every 100th counts. Having a look here at Nick Del Campo, he just jumps up to 4th place. I was going to draw attention to him because he was running well last week, ended up getting a penalty for some car contact and dropped down the order, but he was fast last season. This is his 2nd time around, and he was always a threat inside the top 10. I think he will continue to be. He's got a toe off the 53 car of Chris Taylor, making his 2nd season appearance, who was also a top 10 driver. And you're hearing me say top 10 driver a lot, Tom. Well, it felt like there was 30 top 10 drivers last season too, but the competition just keeps getting closer and closer and closer. Alex LaRose, as you were talking about, he's jumped up to the top 10 as well. So I thought Alex would perform better last week. It seems like this week he's a bit more where I'd expect him.
And take note of the line of cars he's in. It is Jonathan White, Paul Darling, another car that I don't recognize immediately.
It's 43, I think that's Kevin Zhu.
Is it Kevin Zhu?
It is.
It is. And then Alex LaRose. These guys practice together, they run together, they consider themselves teammates as much as they can. Zhu blows the motor.
Oh.
There's another example of what's going to happen down into turn 1. He's pushing it as absolutely hard as he can, trying to get the engine braking, and the engine just goes. Hopefully he didn't hold up Jonathan White, but those guys were in perfect formation to start a flyer. They're going to get one more after this too.
Well, these Mazda motors are very strong. However, they will not take RPMs like a Formula One car, so you have to be awful careful. You know, Tom, a lot of times when you're downshifting, you're using the engine to slow the car down, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to over-rev the car so much that you're revving to 12,000 RPM. You have to wait until the car is capable of sustaining those revs before you make that downshift. So it seems like a lot of drivers coming in the sim racing world come from driving GT3s or other cars with paddle shifting mechanisms where you can't downshift early. The computer will not let you. No computers here. You're using your virtual hand to move a virtual gear lever, and you can mess that up.
Certainly, it's I think maybe one of 4 or 5 regularly used cars in the iRacing service that still feature a manual gearbox, and you know, once you get into the ranks of real racing and out of MX-5s, you're probably not going to deal with the age pattern much, but it is a lot of fun, and it is certainly a skill that you want to have.
I'm looking here at turn number 5. This corner to me is one of the most important corners on this racetrack because there's a lot of opportunity here and a lot of chance to screw things up. This corner opens up after you come down the hill. You kind of have to get back to the right to set yourself up for this hairpin. A lot of drivers see that as an opportunity to dive up the inside. There's a lot of danger there. Also, notice all the grass here. If you miss this corner, you go off course. It's a shortcut. to the other side of the racetrack. You do not want to get yourself caught out there on that island because you will get yourself disqualified if you cut this area of the racetrack off. So you got to stay on the course or else you could find yourself with a black flag.
You can see right there from the entry, it's off of one of the fastest corners on the track, turn 4, which they call the chute. You're basically flat out through this entire corner, and as soon as the steering wheel gets straight is when you hit the brake pedal to slow down for turn 5. And it's really tricky, especially when you're in close quarters with other cars. The temptation is you want to try to pass them, but it gets really cramped really fast. So you got to be careful about how much risk and reward you want to try to take there.
Well, Nathan Saxon still sits at the top of the board, so not much has changed from Road America by 25 thousandths over Jonathan White. That is Ismael Basso, Nick Del Campo, Paul Darling, the rest of your top 5. Hawken, Walker, Pfeiffer, LaRose, and Chris Taylor in the top 10. A few more drivers getting some lap times in, but that's going to be it. Nathan Saxon is your pole sitter here, Tom, for our first of 2 races. Again, 20 minutes, just about 15 laps worth of racing. Let's take you through our starting lineup here. Let's begin with the front row, and it's going to begin with that Nathan Saxon car, that number 16 you're looking at right there. Jonathan White in the 22 rolls off alongside him.
Then it's Ismael Basso in his 40 car, starts on the inside of row 2. Nick Del Campo gets up to 4th in the 15.
In row number 3, it'll be Paul Darling's yellow number 55. Brandon Hawken, the driver that took him out at Road America, starts right next to him in that 99 and 6.
Then it's rookie Logan Walker in the 37 inside of row 4. Luke Pfeiffer on his outside in the 06.
Alex LaRose, great qualifying effort here, will roll off 9th in the 26 car. Chris Taylor, his 2nd season of racing in SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, he starts 10th.
Steve Ficacci in the 11th spot. His 51 car will be on the inside of that 6th row next to Jack Sanchez in the 23 car.
Zach Burke in the number 13 rolls off alongside Chris Henn, 13th and 14th, Burke and Henn.
This one will be interesting. Ryan Maloney qualifies 15th. He's 2nd in the championship. He needs a clean race and starts alongside Kevin Zhu, who's also quick in the 16th spot. That's the 43 car.
Mitchell Peak making another return here to SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, his 3rd season alongside Greg Profeta in the 29 in 18th.
Then it's Renault Roland Hubert in the 19th position, the 19 car, and then Carter Kundinger in the 20th spot. That's the 92.
Thomas Bressi hails from an oval racing background here at iRacing. He starts 21st alongside Jordan Bachmeyer in the 31.
And then it's Riley Thompson in the 23rd spot alongside Christopher Namek in the 24th spot.
Justin Hall starts 25th in the 64 car. Mark Palunin in 26th in the 38.
Gustavo Pergato in the 27th spot. That's the 11 car alongside the 12 car. Brian Zabelski in 28th.
In 29th, be Raven Hopkins in the number 93, and Scott McIntyre in the 01 starts 30th.
And it's the 68 of Scott Angelo, 31st. Max Bauman will be on the outside of the 16th row in his 89 car.
Murphy Nichols, home track, hometown, his favorite track. He starts 33rd in the 05 alongside Matthew Cridlin in the 73.
George Fike in the 09. He's on the inside in 35th. On the outside, Alex Jensen, a couple of rookies this year.
Benson Tai starts 37th alongside Brian Sohn of Penguin RC Simulation, one of our partners this season, in 38th.
A little bit of a roll for Sohn there. Michael Doling will be 39th in the 78 car alongside Elijah Croft in his 17 car. That's 40th.
Brian Allen starts 41st, and Thor Tullo in the 27 starts all the way down in 42nd. All rolling off now for our pace lap. We've got 42 drivers taking the green flag here tonight. Tom, here's our keys to the race. First of them, we already seen this bite somebody, Rev Happy.
Down into turn 1 specifically, but in general, you over-rev these engines and they give you some consequences. And again, that long front straightaway is the most tempting spot to get that done, but it also is the best passing opportunity coming down into that turn 1 area with a lot of draft and a lot of momentum.
Then it's the front straight. We talked about how long it is. Your slipstreaming, your best passing opportunity is into turn 1, and that's where it's going to lead into that Rev Happy zone. And then when you get down to turn 1, it's not really a clear-cut picture which line you choose, Tom, inside, outside.
Inside or outside. A lot of times here at Summit Point, because of the layout, the rhythm and momentum around the outside ends up being better off because the next corner, you're looking at it right now, is turn 3. It's a left-hander, so you want to be on the left coming into turn 3, but you want to dive to the inside naturally at turn 1. So which do you pick? There's going to be a lot of learning going on in this first race and probably a lot of learning over the practices for the last couple of days. Do you want to be on the inside, or if you're protecting, do you actually let the other person go inside and stick to that outside?
We're going to see that probably be discussion all over this racetrack, including turn 5. I think it's sort of a similar dichotomy there. Track temp is up a couple degrees from qualifying, 89 degrees on the track, so getting a little hotter and a little slicker. One more time, you're watching the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, round number 2 from Summit Point Raceway in virtual Summit Point, West Virginia, here in the iRacing.com simulator. My name's Kyle Heyer, alongside World Challenge champion. I heard a motor blow. Luke Pfeiffer blew the motor on the pace lap, Tom. I mean, I'm shocked by that. I don't know what it just made it misshifted potentially, but that's his round over.
Yeah, that's very bizarre, and unfortunately that means he's going to also have to start from the back for the second race, so his whole night just became a big uphill climb. I can't really imagine what you would have been doing, because I think these cars prefer fairly cool tires, so there wasn't even a whole lot of tire warming going on.
No, I don't know, but just putting your shifter in the wrong spot. Again, a lot of drivers have a physical H-pattern gearbox shifter, and if you put it in the wrong gear and lift the clutch up, it's going to go. Your transmission, your virtual transmission will not stop you from doing something incorrect, and that's what we might have seen there. All right, 20 minutes, 15 laps. Nathan Saxton's going to take us to the green flag, an early green flag. They have a green flag call from a live steward, so if they're going, they should be going. Here we go.
Very early for Saxton. White tucks in immediately behind and protects to that inside lane. The rest of the field is pretty much in formation as now they start to change lanes back and forth. Look how many MX-5s down into the braking zone for turn 1.
41 of them, -1 after that Luke Pfeiffer incident. So far, so good through that first turn. I saw a couple drivers getting real close. I think we've survived so far, 3 wide deeper in the field, and we are through turn 1 without any major incidents. Couple drivers slotting into line, but nicely done as they did at Road America.
That was Ismael Basso from third. Big climb over the curb at turn 1. He lost a couple of positions. I think he's sixth right now. A couple of drivers clawing their way past, and look at how hard it is to keep the car out of the gravel out of turn 3. Sweeping through turn 4 on the brakes for turn 5 on lap 1.
Oh, deep on the brakes. There's Brendan Hawkins in front of Paul Darling. He dropped a couple spots down to 8th. Kevin Zhu getting passed by Zach Burke on the inside. Into turn 5, everyone behaving very nicely. I'm very impressed by this group, as I was at Road America. No major funny business or silliness in turn 1. That live steward helps a lot. Thanks again to Ryan Cobb for doing that for us here this evening. But did a great job at Road America, and penalties are handed out swiftly if they're needed. But so far, very clean and calm racing.
I think when you put prizes on the line, it both incentivizes you to be a hero at certain points, but it also makes you really smart at these race starts. These drivers want to be in the fight for the end of the race. They know they're not going to win in the first lap, and when their consequences are low and you're playing with random strangers online, yes, it's better you can just throw it up the inside on lap 1, but these guys are all trying to race as clean as possible. 3 wide across the start-finish line there in mid-pack.
That's 13 of Zach Burke in the middle, the 65 of Maloney on drivers right, the 43 of Kevin Zhu on the left. Hearing a hardware failure for Pfeiffer, put the gearbox in first instead of third. Ooh, that'll do it.
And it's a touch to the back of Kevin Zhu. He gets the position, though, closes the door from that 3 wide position. It was the 13 that gave him the nudge. That's Zach Burke, and he's still side by side with Ryan Maloney, who's trying to pick up a couple of spots. Again, Maloney second in the championship, not very happy about being 14th on track.
13's going to slide across the nose. Lots of dust kicking up in the air. Can't violate those track limits too much. Doors open there to drivers right. I don't think he's going to take it just yet. Brandon Hawkins is knocking the door for third place of Nick Del Campo. Look at this battle for third.
Interesting to see a bit of a 2-car breakaway at the front. It's not much of a breakaway yet, but Del Campo seems to be holding this group up just a little bit. He's got a mirror full of Brandon Hawkins, who wants to get closer up to the front. Basso recovering from that first corner, a little bit of a bobble. He's back to 5th. Chris Taylor's come with him, and Paul Darling, interestingly, 7th, has fallen 2 positions since the green flag as well.
Yeah, a little surprised that we didn't see Paul Darling move forward, but he will probably get better as the night goes on. He's going to lie quietly and wait for an opportunity to strike. More passing happening midfield. There's the 29 car of Greg Profeta on the back of Carter Kundinger. Mark Palunin on the inside. There's a touch there. He's going to get touched by, I think that was a 74, Chris Namick. He'll run a little wide, 3 wide still in the back of the pack here. So many cars still running. Look at this chaos.
Oh, it's a frantic cluster to try to get around, and no one wants to get pinned behind because drafting is key, momentum is key down these front straightaways. Yes, they're momentum cars in the corner, but they're also momentum cars down into turn 1. I heard an engine blow.
I think it might have just been car contact. I don't see anybody off pace. There's a car wide. It's Namick in the 74. See some damage to the rear of this car, Tom. I think there's a tale to be told here.
Might have been the crunch we heard, the body panels, and no, it wasn't that either.
Oh, he already had that damage.
Yes, he did from lap 1, so he was just way too deep on the brakes. Trying to hold that outside line that we mentioned is usually the preferred line through turn 1. If you're defending your position, you can carry a couple more mile an hour around there and end up better off. Saxon, look at how quick he is. He's, despite being the drafted car, he is just running away from Jonathan White through the infield section. He's pulled 5 or 6 car lengths out since the last time we saw him. Jonathan White falling back into the clutches of Brandon Hawkins, who's gotten around
trouble.
Nick Del Campo.
Sorry, Tom. Namick's night. Well, that wasn't Namick, actually. It was Brian Snow. Who was that spun around? It was Hopkins, I believe. Raven Hopkins in the 93. Big damage there. Max Bauman back there as well. And this had more to it, so let's go back a little farther and see where it began. Hopkins in the 93 car into turn 5, a trouble spot I mentioned in the pre-race. And the 93 of Hopkins going to drive off into turn 5 and a car up the inside. That's Bauman. And they're going to have a coming together right there. Bauman just just tags the 93, turns him around, and there's a little touch there. Only 2 cars involved, but they're going to have a lot of work to do. Look at this through turn 1. You mentioned Nathan Saxon pulling away as we got a battle here between the 55 at Darling and Taylor of the 53. Road America, we sort of expected the draft to keep everyone together. That was sort of like NASCAR drafting at Talladega. This week, a little different. I think drivers will be able to control their own destiny maybe a little bit more than they were able to at Road America. Whoa, big slide for Jack Sanchez. He gathers it back up. Here's Chris Henn defending from Logan Walker in the 37.
Yeah, I agree. As you were mentioning, the drafting down the front straights at Road America, or down all the straights at Road America, keep the field much closer together. It's a little bit easier to be just the class of the field here at Summit Point, and looks like Saxon's really got that one covered. Again, Hawken got by Del Campo. Del Campo is falling off the back of that battle as well, but we're watching just inside the top 10. Alex LaRose trying to pick up a spot through the S's. That's tough to do. That's turn 9. He keeps a nose there. Look at that. Walker washes wide, and LaRose still tucks in behind. But those two lost a lot of time to Henn in that whole exchange.
You're going to see that a lot. I mean, really, you've got 3 very distinct areas of this racetrack. The first sector is very point and shoot. The second sector is about as tight and twisty as it gets in North American road racing. And the third sector, again, very point and shoot. So you're going to see a lot of side-by-side through that middle sector, and it's going to cost you a ton of time. Got to get it sorted out before you get to the straightaways. Oh, behind him, woo, there's Kevin Zhu defending from Ryan Maloney. These two have had a scrap or 3 tonight.
Surprised to see both of them not actually working together more to get back up through the field, because they both have shown pace to run up towards the front. Maloney, a little bit of damage on the back of that MX-5. He must have gotten a rear end full somewhere along the first couple of laps of this race. I don't see matching damage on any cars around him quite as Kevin Zhu gets very close.
Oh, Chris Taylor. He's in the fence hard in turn 3. We've seen this kind of crash happen before. I wonder if he maybe had some help here. Well, he was all by himself. I wonder he might have just gotten the tire in the grass on corner entry. Here he goes.
It's easy to do. You just dip the tire right there and overcorrects. Big impact into the tires, and that's going to do massive damage to the front of that car. He's going to have to wait for the whole field to string through, too. It's a painful mistake.
Just the slightest touch, overcorrection, and dead stop in the tire barrier there. That's a big hit. And you can see the steering all bent up on that car. It's not going to go very far for the rest of the night here. Back up in 5th, Basso and Darling, and we talked about Darling maybe moving forward slowly. Well, he's beginning that climb now. Still down 1 spot from where he started, but I don't think it's going to last too long.
See, maybe he could work a bit with Osmail Basso before they cover that gap to Del Campo, White, and Hawkins. Saxon has still got this field covered by 1.1 seconds. Not a comment you get to make much in SPEC MX-5 racing. But Hawkins and, pop for Darling on the back of Basso.
Down the inside in turn 1, he's in deep. Oh no! Henn sails it down the inside, clobbers the 40 car. That was a big late braking move, and I don't think the stewards are going to like that a whole lot.
No, I was going to make a comment that they've already gotten a couple of little incidents here and there under review. That's going to add to it, but that's why they call him the postman. I'm not sure that was necessarily on purpose.
No,
it did kind of work, if maybe a little bit Gran Turismo-y of him. But they end up. Actually, it looks like the 23 of Jack Sanchez is the one that benefits the whole out of all of them.
Oh, Zach Burke has turned around at the exit of turn 3. He's going to reset back to the pit lane. Nathan Saxon continues to lead this race, and no one has touched him so far. This is dangerous for the entire rest of the field. You mentioned the points gap that he's got after having a perfect picture at Road America, winning both those races. If he wins both races here tonight, oh boy, all that work they're going to have to do to catch him is going to be pretty substantial.
Well, at second in points, sits 11th in this race. Ryan Maloney has had a tough night, tough start to his night at least. So at every point, every position he can get is super, super critical. Basso, another engine goes in that car. He's had engine problems 2 weeks in a row now.
And there's your keys to the race. Rev Happy, he's going to climb up on top of the berm there. Well, it would have been triumphant, but he blew this up going all the way into turn 5. Just right on board and listen. Right there.
Ooh, you heard it on the rev limiter for almost a second, if not longer. Tries to grab another gear and keep going. The car will roll for a bit, but does the gentlemanly thing to get out of the way. Getting a ruling from the stewards. The 33 car, Chris Henn, is a warning for avoidable contact.
Well, he got away with that one. It looks like the 40 car is going to just chill up there and create a campfire for everybody else to drive by for the rest of the night. He might get told to take that one back to the pits. Saxon through turn 4. Has Brandon Hawken behind him now, the 99, a driver that without the collision at the end of Road America could have, would have, should have maybe won Road America.
Well, check out the gap 6/10 right now. It was 1.1 last time they crossed the start-finish line, and I was paying attention. So he's cut that thing almost in half. The Hawken car is really quick right now. That's the white and yellow car leaving frame, and he's bringing Jonathan White, Nick Del Campo with him. Might as well count Paul Darling into that one. So we might end up with a 5-way battle for the lead by the end of this thing.
Have to laugh about the steward popping in our view. They didn't used to have stewards standing around here, and these cameras are from a couple iRacing builds ago. And we got a buddy over there in the turn 9 flag stand. On the front straight, Hawken closes it to half a second, well within slipstream, and that gap will continue to come down. You can
see on the left side of the screen just how quickly it tumbles. It was half second across the line, 4.7 down to 4.2. Then onto the brakes for turn 1. This thing is turning into a race with 8 laps to go. We're only halfway through.
And I noticed something listening to Hawken downshift. You hear how careful he was? He waited way, way later, letting the brakes do the work. The brakes are what you're supposed to use to stop the car, but some drivers might use the transmission a little bit too much, maybe.
And a number of them did observe that the brake fall off is fairly noticeable, especially as the tires get hot too. You're going to have to back your braking zone up just a little bit, as you would in real life. So that's when you get tempted to lean on those downshifts just a little bit more. Field strung out quite a bit in the back half of the pack.
I'm interested about the brake fade discussion because for the longest time, iRacing didn't really have a brake fade effect that you could really feel. But on these cars with basically not motorsport ABS, it's just street car ABS essentially. You're going to be wearing out not only your tires but also your brakes, even in these short races, which I think is modeled really, really well. So Hawken is closing in, and brake management, especially going down into turn 1, going to be pretty crucial. You're also on the brakes a lot around here, a lot of very heavy braking zones, but Hawken is closing, and we're going to have a battle at the lead before too long. Here's Ryan Maloney and LaRose fighting for 9th. Took LaRose a couple tries to get back up towards here. He dropped down about 12th, but he's back to 10th now.
Maloney is on fire right now as well. He's up again from 15th on the grid to 9th. And he's got at least Sanchez in his sights, a little bit of track to cover before he gets up to 7th, which is Logan Walker. That's the big gap you see a little bit further from this battle, which is turning into a proper battle for the lead. It's only 3.5 tenths of a second right now.
It was down to 2 tenths of a second. Here's Maloney on the inside of Jack Sanchez, who's trying to go the long way around. Inside, outside, another one of our keys to the race. We hit those on the head this week, didn't we?
Well, you see the problem that Maloney has now. He goes to the inside, but now he's stuck on the outside. Sanchez is going to close the door pretty easily as they turn in for turn 3. There's just no way to really hold this outside. He is there. Wow, he did it. He holds the inside or outside and gets the inside for the shoot. Here at turn 4, does Maloney get the position?
LaRose is going to have a great view of this down to turn 5, climbs over the curb. Oh, he gets hit from behind. LaRose gets drilled by Ficacci, woes it down. Lots of pushing and shoving around here like bumper cars into turn 5.
Wow, Maloney again holds the outside at turn 5, gets the inside for turn 6, plants the throttle and pulls ahead of Sanchez. Now Sanchez has to deal with LaRose. LaRose in the white and maroon car, Sanchez the black and green, and does a good job to salvage that one, tuck in behind Maloney.
Yeah, and Steve Ficacci hit the back of the 26 car, so a bit of front to rear contact. I wonder if maybe Mitchell Peak could have been involved in that as well. Mitchell Peak started 17th up to 12th. Good climb for him. He's been running up inside the top 5 at the tail end of last season and continuing that trend here this season as we go to the top spot, because Hawken might have a look here, or he could sit in line. What do you think he's going to do here, Tom?
I don't know. I think he's got to learn a little bit. You maybe try one or two things and see what happens, but ultimately I think it's going to come down to that final lap as they take the as they take the white flag. It's going to be which position do you want to be in?
Back
Sanchez.
This time trying it the other way around this time. We'll see if this works. This is so fun watching the chess moves in real time here as Sanchez thought the inside would work, so it didn't. He's going to try the outside. Now he's going to try the inside and see if that works, and he's going to get shuffled out and try crossover. Interesting move here.
Almost bumping door mirrors as they come into turn 3, but now a bit of a breather. 3 wide, someone to the inside, Ficacci.
No, that's Mitchell Peak there. They're going to touch. They're going to crash now. Oh, man, big hit for the 23 car Sanchez, and LaRose is going to go off. Watch the penalty there. But Peak took him 3 wide, and that's not going to be a very popular move, I can imagine. But it was a gutsy call. He gets back on course. Let's go back and have a look. He just takes him 3 wide here, Tom, and he just cannot hold the inside. We're going to look at that in slow motion, I think.
Yeah, grabs a bunch of curb at the inside of turn 4, and that actually started back at turn 3. LaRose tried to close the door. The over-under between himself and Sanchez slowed them up just a little bit for Peak to get that run, and then Peak, we're getting down to 6 laps to go. It took the opportunity that he had, but unfortunately that big jump of the curb shoved him out into the door of the 26, and then you'll see from the perspective of Jack Sanchez, he's probably wondering what the heck just happened.
Oh, man, another big hit there. That was well over 85, 90 miles an hour going into turn 5. And up front, Brandon Hawken is getting a taste of the lead. He's got it done through turn 1. And here comes Jonathan White to boot.
And he's got it completely done. There's no overlap yet anymore with Saxon. Saxon and White have to sort this thing out, and they might struggle to lose touch with Hawken. Look at the gap by going too wide. Hawken picks up a couple of car lengths and a run for Nick Del Campo.
Nick Del Campo is flying right now, ran one of his best laps, only a 10th off. He's going to see the door open to driver's left. He's going to squeeze up the inside for position. This is for 3rd place. Downshift saw the car rotate as he threw the car into gear. But Brandon Hawken is seeing a whole lot of clear racetrack ahead of him.
I love seeing from turn 1 all the way to this point on the track. There's not an obvious side of the track to be on yet. I haven't figured out which one I would pick. And a big climb for Jonathan White almost completely cuts the track, and he loses 1 position. Del Campo's picked up 1, and in all of that, Hawken is almost 3/4 of a second up the road.
Let's go back and have a look and see if we can find where that pass took place and how effective that move was. Here's a look at the replay entering turn number 1. Just pulls out to the right here, Tom. Pretty standard affair. But he was able to complete this pass on corner exit. Did he run the 16 up? Or no, I think Saxon overdrove a little bit too.
Well, I think actually Saxon was trying to just tuck back in line. I think he knew that if they went side by side, they were going to lose more time than if they didn't. So you see him just completely delay his turn in and doesn't want to get side by side with Jonathan White. But unfortunately, White tried to go with him. And they both lost a bunch of time.
Chris Henn moving back forward. Remember, he had that warning for avoidable contact earlier. Got away with it there, I believe. Maloney in the 65 going to cross him up in turn 2. Wow. Have a look up the inside. Nicely done.
I'm blown away with Maloney. This is so impressive. From 15th on the grid to stay as clean as he has and pick up as many positions as he has in a spec race is no small feat. And he was actually about 2 seconds back from Henn and Walker a couple laps ago, so he just straight up ran him down. Whether they're racing or not is kind of besides the point. They're still racing for it, though. The 37 wants it. Logan Walker really hunting on the back of Chris Henn. Walker is in the championship contention. Henn is kind of out of it this early on as it sits.
Thought he was going to take a look to the inside in turn 5. Thought better of it. Maybe not the right move to make. You're sitting inside the top 10 now. No real reason to throw yourself up the inside here. You still have an entire other race to make up points as well. Up front, top 3, battling hard. Looks like Jonathan White has fallen back into the clutches of Darling and Maloney, but actually that's the 15 of Nick Del Campo in 3rd. Then it's Paul Darling and Ryan Maloney on an island by them. Nope, Maloney's back there, so it's just Darling hanging out by himself behind White. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5 all in a group together. And Del Campo pushing Saxon. Now he's going to pop out to the right. Here he comes.
It's got 3 laps to go, so you're kind of doing the mental math on when do I want to be where. It's okay to be 3rd for now, but you're coming to that white flag. You definitely don't want to be 3rd. He gets the inside line done, and Saxon does it again. Look at him. He just tucks in. He didn't fight for that one too hard. You can hold the outside. We've seen it work a bunch of times, but he knows that he's going to be under attack more if he fights now by bringing Jonathan White and Darling into this one. But he bought himself a couple of car legs. Del Campo grabs the grass like we saw a couple of other drivers do early on, makes the mistake. Saxon takes the run.
That made me clench for a second. I thought that was going to be game over. Here's a big battle. Jordan Bachmeyer, Renault Roland Hubert, and Kevin Zhu 3 wide into turn 3. Sorted out, boys, all wearing purple on the cars this week. Greg Profeta behind him, and here comes Riley Thompson trying to take advantage of this stack up.
This is for 9th on back. But 10th on back. A big scramble down into turn 5 from the outside. Thompson tries to get around Profeta.
Car off there. That's Logan Walker in the 37. He just went wide, pulling some dirt back on course.
He was the one that was trying to make the move on Chris Henn. I wonder if he made a mistake or if they might have had an incident between the two of them.
No, all on his own here. Wow. Ahead of that group.
Something must have happened much earlier in the lap even, but then just makes this mistake. Remember, he was up by Chris Henn a couple of corners ago.
Yeah, so have to get back forward. He's got Brian Jabelski to work with now. Riley Thompson, how about this? 3 wide on between 9 and 10. They're trying all sorts of stuff. I thought they weren't going to do this week, but they've decided that even this racetrack's wide enough for 3 wide racing.
Absolutely, if not 4. It's not nice. Not
Let's
over
not
yet.
Try that yet.
Race steward did confirm Mitchell Peak was penalized, black flag for that incident. Avoidable contact up the inside of turn 5 a couple laps ago. These guys are playing with fire a little bit down into the brakes for turn 1.
Well, there's the 64 car of Justin Hall on the inside. That's a hard line to hold. Kevin Zhu on the outside. There's Thomas Bressy, who I mentioned is more of an oval racer than a road course racer. Now he does participate in and did recently participate in the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona. So he is not shy on the road racing, but comes from a left turn background. But knows how to make it right, too.
Daytona 24 Hours is about as little a road race.
he also ran the Sebring 12.
Okay.
I'll give him credit where credit's due.
I think you turned right about a couple dozen times in 24 hours at Daytona, but we'll give it to him.
just saying he's a NASCAR guy. All right, back up
look
front.
at this. Del Campo got by Saxon a couple of laps ago. Saxon's still right there, but in all of that, White and Darling are also there. This is a 5-car battle coming to the white flag.
One more time around. 2 miles left here at Summit Point. Then we'll rack them up, stack them up for a second race here this evening. Brandon Hawken leads the way. He was denied a victory last week after contact with Paul Darling. He's got 2 miles to solidify this one and make it official this week. Here comes Del Campo up the outside, late on the brakes. Side by side, here comes Saxon with an opportunity.
Wow, Saxon has a huge run. He's going to easily motor past
Del Campo,
contact. Except they get touch between the two of them. 3 wide for a moment.
Here comes White on the outside. Elbows out, opportunity seized there by the 22 car. Can he squeeze around the outside? Yes. Put White to second place, Del Campo to third. He's going to knock the Saxon car way off course in turn 3 and send him to the back of the pack. White up to second place, so opportunity here.
That was an incredible move. 3 wide around the outside, slam the door at turn end of turn 3, and he still has an opportunity to potentially catch Brandon Hawken. They've got about 4 more corners to go. None of them are particularly good for passing, but Darling also picking up a spot. Saxon, a little bit of a heartbreak. He's still safely within the championship hunt with a 5th place finish. Just needs to take a deep breath and calm himself down before the next green flag at this point, in my opinion. But Hawken pulls out a half a second lead on Jonathan White. White will have a little bit of a run right here, but it's going to take a miracle or a mistake to make this thing happen for White.
Brandon Hawken, well done today. And it was well done at Road America, but things didn't happen the way that he was expecting them to, and had a rubbing with Paul Darling on the very last lap. He was not able to claim victory there, but this week he will. Brandon Hawken will get his first ever win as a rookie in SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. Win in race number 3 this season. Then it's White, Del Campo, Darling, Saxon, the rest of your top 5. Here comes Ryan Maloney, 6th place. Chris Henn, 7th. Fakachi, 8th. Roland Hubert in the 19 car will come home in 9th. And Jordan Bachmeyer rounding out the top 10. And that 19 car started in 19th. He gained 10 spots to grab a top 10. Well done there.
It's an awesome charge. And again, golf claps and snaps for both Brandon Hawken and Ryan Maloney. Both of them put on a show that race to finish first. Brandon Hawken takes his first win of the season. Maloney from 15th to 6th brings himself much closer back into that championship hunt with that performance.
Let's have a look here at our race winners. Again, Brandon Hawken in that number 99, getting his victory. A little bit of redemption after the penalty last week at Road America. Then Jonathan White, Nick Del Campo, Paul Darling, a top 5 rebounding for him. And Nathan Saxon led the early parts of this race, but got shuffled out. Wasn't very aggressive, but I think maybe just trying to be conservative. He'll start 5th in race number 2. Down the rest, Mitchell Peak did get a penalty. I'm not sure if that will be served next race or if that was already served. He finished 18th, down 28 seconds off the race leader. Down the rest of the order now, the last couple of drivers. Murphy Nichols, 26th place after starting 33rd. It was a good climb for him as we move on to race number 2. Got a short warm-up here, Tom. Let's talk about race number 1 and how things went. Pretty clean, couple incidents here and there, but what I've seen is that up front, Nathan Saxon was fast, but maybe not defensive or aggressive enough to win a race.
Yeah, it was interesting. Again, it's really cool to see here at this track. There's not an obvious side you want to be on for pretty much all of turns 1 through 7. The thing that makes it work is how brave you are. And I've seen a lot of bravery from a couple of different drivers, where last week Nathan Saxon was kind of a controlled force. He had a lot of restraint and a lot of strategic decision making. This week, it's, are you willing to go 3 wide between turns 2 and 3 and try to make the position work? That's how Jonathan White got his second place. Nathan Saxon, the winner, Brandon Hawken, also made moves. A lot of the drivers that ended up successful from that race were just kind of ballsier than the other drivers they were racing. So I think you can pretty much make anything work here, and a lot of these drivers are going to have to apply what they just learned, whether they did it well or didn't do it well, and as you like to say, re-rack, restack, and try again.
Big thanks to our partners for being with us here this season, SPEC MX-5. Again, this series models a real-world series that you can actually participate in. If you've got hands on an NC Miata you'd like to build to their specs, you can find out more on the SPEC MX-5 Challenge website and race this series in the real world. Thanks again to Penguin RC Simulation, as well as SCDA Driving School, as well as Level Up Racing School. Super glad to have all those guys with us. We still have another race, so do not go. We're 2.5 minutes away from gridding for our second and final race of the evening. My name's Kyle Heyer alongside Tom O'Gorman, and you're watching the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, where we crown one driver as season champion and give them the opportunity of a lifetime to test one of these cars on the track in the real world at the end of the year. 2 drivers have won previously. DJ Alessandrini, he won this race, or this championship, and got to race these cars in the real world at Road Atlanta. And Ken House-Seal has yet to claim his prize, but he was a winner from last season. We'll have him on in a future race. But both those guys, super humble, super good drivers. And I can honestly say it's the best of the best that wins these championships.
And that's why we end up with such quality racing up here at the front. It's going to be another great race coming up in about a minute and a half. They they start and grid in the same order they just finished. So whatever progress you made, you get to keep chipping away. It'll be fun to watch a couple of the drivers that maybe didn't have the best race last time through work their way back up.
Well, having a look here at the weather information, it was a little hotter than I was maybe expecting, and the temperature continues to climb, Tom. How about 94 degrees? How much is that temperature going to affect these drivers, and is that something that they should take into consideration for the second race? The setups are fixed. They can't change them.
Sure, it certainly is, and I think that I do wonder if that has something to do with Nathan Sachs in that last race. Remember, he was so strong at the beginning and kind of fell back into the clutches the rest of the field. Looked like he was either a little too patient or maybe didn't feel like he had the car under him to protect when he was under attack, whereas the other drivers maybe use their equipment a little bit better. It's tough to say from the outside if the drivers are burning their equipment down or if they're just being a little bit more conservative. But with the weather that hot, the fall off on these cars is going to be measurable, and you got to account for that.
Logan Walker looking for a bit of redemption after race one, kind of going off course there in turn number 5. A couple other drivers maybe looking for a bit better run in race 2. Christopher Namick had a couple issues, and this driver right here, Luke Pfeiffer, had a misshift on the pace lap, Tom, and his race is over before it started. I know you had a race like that a couple years ago in IMSA at Mossport. It's a frustrating time, obviously.
It certainly is, but at least you get to go again here. So,
yeah, I guess that's true.
He'll get to bring up the rear, and you know, honestly, if you can remove yourself from the frustration and enjoy the race from the back of a pack like this, it can be some of your favorite races, whether you win or not. You know, it's just so much fun to pass and race with other people. If you're frustrated the whole time, though, it's not that fun. So hopefully he's been able to take that deep breath, reset his equipment, get a fresh motor in that car, and come back out to race again.
All right. We saw one driver do this last week. It was Christopher Henn. He did a great job going through the field. And like you said, if you just remove yourself from that frustrating moment and you're just enjoying passing cars, you know, the first half of the field, you might have a pretty good time, and then you're going to get to 25th, 20th, and you're going, this is getting hard. Yep. And then you're going to get stuck mired in the teens unless you start getting those elbows out. Got to watch out you don't draw the ire of the race steward. All right, time to go for our second grid process of the evening here, Tom. On the front row for this one, it's going to be Brandon Hawken, race winner from our race number 1. These are also your race 1 results. Jonathan White starts on the outside of that front row.
Then Nick Del Campo picked up a spot in that race. He starts 3rd. Paul Darling came with him. He starts 4th.
In 5th, Nathan Saxon won both races to start at Road America. Finished 5th in race 1 after getting shuffled out. And he'll start alongside Ryan Maloney up from 15th to 6th. He'll continue that climb.
Chris Henn came from 14th to finish 7th. And then Steve Ficacci will start 8th. He was 11th on the grid last time through.
Renault Roland Hubert rolls off in 9th, that number 19 car. Then Jordan Bachmeyer in the 31 starts in 10th. Good solid top 10 for him. We'll try to repeat it.
Yeah, that was important. He started 22nd in that race, came up to 10th, and he is in the top 10 in the championship. Sorry again, Greg Pafetta in 11th. He will start on the inside of that 6th row. Thomas Bresci on the outside in 12th.
Mark Palunin in the 38 car rolls off in 13th. Riley Thompson, a quiet climb forward, but he is moving up. He'll start 14th.
And it's Justin Hall in the 64 car in 15th, and Brian Sabelski in 16th.
And Christopher Namick starts 17th in the 74, looking for a bit better luck. Mitchell Peak starts 18th. Is he serving his penalty now here, Tom, or did he already serve it?
I'm not actually sure. I think he got it early enough to serve it last race. But either way, in the 19th spot, Scott Angelo will be on the inside of that 10th row alongside Matthew Cridlin in his 73 car.
Then Alex Jensen in 21st in the 45 car. Kevin Zhu will roll off alongside him in the 43, maybe looking to keep the car a little farther forward. He had a good run, just not quite enough finishing position. That's what he needed in the first race.
Scott McIntyre in the 23rd spot in the 01. Benson Ty on his left at the green flag in the 24th spot.
Brian Sohn starts in 25th in the 03. Murphy Nichols, home race for him. I'm sure he's having a blast in the Smoketown Brewing Station 05. He starts 26th.
Then it's Michael Doling in the 78 car. He starts 27th alongside Brian Allen in 28th.
Thor Tolo started dead last in race 1. He rolls off 29th alongside George Fike in the 30.
Elijah Kloft in the 31st spot. That's the 17 car alongside Max Bauman, who actually had a penalty last race. He's going to be looking to claw up some positions from 32nd.
Alex LaRose starts in 33rd alongside Logan Walker, who got shuffled out at the end of race 1, starts 34th.
Both of them are going to be fun to watch, as are Jack Sanchez, the 35th starter in this race. Carter Kundinger, the 36th in the 92 car.
Gustavo Brigado starts 37th in the number 11. Then Ismael Basso blew the motor. He'll try again in 38th.
Zach Burke in 39th. He will start his 13 car alongside Chris Taylor, the 53. There's a bunch of drivers at the back that are going to make this thing very interesting. Taylor's one of them in 40th.
Raven Hopkins starts in 41st. It'll be Luke Pfeiffer bringing up the rear after he blew that motor on the pace lap. Basically exactly one race ago, trying to be very cautious on the pace lap this time. All right, back up to the front. Brandon Hawken, can he repeat and become the second driver of the season to sweep around? Will that become a thing? We didn't see it a whole lot in the previous season where drivers won both races in a round. It was very all over the place. I think this season we might start to see a trend where drivers dominate an entire round.
Perhaps, and we'll see if Nathan Saxon maybe is a little bit more aggressive this time. I think he felt very comfortable in control of the start of that race and was maybe surprised even by how aggressive the drivers were once they caught him. Has he learned anything? Maybe can he add another win to the season, or one of these other drivers in that top 5, top 6, they're all contenders.
Doubled up, 21 rows deep. The yellow car, Brandon Hawken. The outside, Jonathan White in the black and white car. Green flag is going to fly, and we're racing again. This time, we're going green. Here we go.
Really slow start from Jonathan White on the outside there. He looked almost content to roll slow and tuck into third. Nick Del Campo picks up a position because of it. But the rest of the field, look at the left lane is much quicker. The left side of your screen lane is much quicker at the start.
Down into turn 1, Hawken moves over left to protect. And now we're going to look through turn 1. Everybody, can they get through it this time without incident? We did good last race, and we're going to do good again. Nicely done, everybody.
Paul Darling got hung out on the outside. Another driver dipping a tire into the dirt, but Darling lost a couple of spots. Saxon picks up one. Darling is in the black and yellow. He slots in line. 2-car breakaway at the front, but that'll be gone as soon as we get back to the front straight next lap through.
Well, a lot of people running wide. They're off in the dirt. Got to be cautious that you don't get yourself into trouble. Whoa, there's the trouble. 3 wide.
Yeah, I heard a little bit of a contact exiting turn 3. Car scattered, but everybody does a good job to keep it together. People are jumping that big curb at turn 4 a little too much, in my opinion, getting a little brave. See, it upsets the car so much, but everybody gathers it for turn 5, gets the car slowed down. We're 2 by 2, really deep. The 24 is off.
Thomas Bressi getting the tires off course there. You mentioned the curb in turn 4. These cars are super compliant over curbs, but Tom, if 2 of your tires are in the air, they're not down on the ground steering or braking. And you want all 4 tires on the ground. If you're jumping curbs, you're not doing that, but sometimes it's a lot of fun.
It could be, and that's what ended up getting this driver, Mitchell Peak, black flag last time through. He tried to use the curb and got pogoed out into the door of another car. Bunch of shuffling amongst a bunch of these white rookie livery cars. They stream through turn 10 onto the front straightaway. 1 car off, a big punt.
Behind him, there's big trouble. That's going to be a nasty wreck at the exit at turn 10. This will be a handful of cars. Max Bauman again involved in this one. Brian Sohn, nope, he looks like he'll get through. Let's go back and have a look and see where this one began. So many cars on top of each other here. Just, well, the 89 got turned into by the 0-1 of Scott McIntyre. That creates this huge stack up. Nowhere for anybody to go.
Yeah, I hate to see when so many other people get collected in a small incident like that. It looks like the 0-1 didn't quite know they were still overlapped, turning into turn 10. Chopped down and got himself spun. Big spread out here at the front. Hawken leading over Del Campo. Saxon is up to 3rd now as he's picked off Jonathan White. Paul Darling again shuffled back to 5th. But Ryan Maloney is in the lead battle this time through, and that's important for his championship.
Seen everybody climb that curb there. More passing going on. There's a touch. Oh, no. Murphy Nichols is going to get rear-ended and spun around. He's facing traffic. Bad place to be. That's heartbreaking for the hometown kid here this week, Tom. So excited to come here. He might have gotten some help from behind. Was it the 45 car? Looks like it. Would have been Alex Jensen. Yeah.
So it looks like Jensen actually had another attack on his left, potentially reacting to a car lunging up on his driver's inside, and just kind of tried to dodge that one into Murphy Nichols. Here's the car that lunged on the 45.
It's Logan Walker in the 37. Again, he was charging from the rear. He's going to see the door open here on the left. Right there. There's a no.
Yeah, so he goes to the left, and the car in front of him responds to that and ends up hitting Murphy Nichols because he came off the brake pedal just a little bit, unfortunately. Ran out of room down into that very tight turn 5.
Here comes Riley Thompson up the inside. This would be for 11th on Renault Roland Hubert in the 19 car. And Greg Profeta in the 29. Haven't talked a whole bunch about him, but started 11th, running 13th. Would like to move back in the right direction. And up at the front, Nick Del Campo. He has showed up to play today. I mean, he was good last season, but this is the most racy I've ever seen Nick Del Campo. And Nathan Saxon has moved his way back into 3rd. So keeping an eye on our round 1 sweep winner. Saxon and our early race leader from the previous race. I think he might try the reverse strategy and hang out in third and then maybe make the move at the end.
Thinking back to last week at Road America, Nick Del Campo had a heck of a climb in race 1. He had a poor qualifying effort in race 1, climbed way up towards the front, got himself into the top 10 battle, ended up with a penalty in race 2, unfortunately, but I think he's probably got a fire under him because of how frustrating last week must have been. He really, really wants to be in this battle for the lead and is there absolutely right now. Curious to see if Saxon gets a little bit more aggressive, and he still doesn't really have a whole lot of room to breathe with a whole lot of the top 10 still in this. It's 8th on up is still in the fight.
Well, Del Campo did not attempt to make a pass there. He will stay where he is. There's Matthew Cridland. Is this on the front straightaway?
It is. That's a very early in the front straight, so not super weird, but it's pretty far away from turn 10.
Well, he had quite an off. I wonder if he had some help. This is Cridland in the 73, the 12. Probably just gets in here a little hot. A lot of dirt and dust at the exit, and I think we might, yeah, he just gets loose on the gravel. But looking again at turn 10, all the dirt and dust and gravel that's on that track, now that's an effect that is not extraordinary in iRacing, but the track can get covered in dirt and dust, and it will affect the grip level. So we could see that affecting the speeds that we're seeing through that corner. Oh, this is going to be another big stack up here. This is getting out of hand here a little bit, Tom. Christopher Namek's to go sailing across the infield. Everyone's getting a little bit naughty, getting those elbows out too far. Yeah,
I can tell you the race control chatter is very busy right now. The 74 rejoining across the infield. Ooh. That's a very bold move. Keeps it clean and doesn't hold anybody up, but you're going to get a time cut for that. At the front, Del Campo patient, but lots of pressure. Look at all that dirt.
Yeah, look at all that dirt. You see these guys tracking out even wider than they thought they might have, so I think that is affecting the grip level and causing a bit of slickness in that last turn. 7 laps to go this time by in our second race. And yeah, that race control director, don't envy his position right now. The first race, everyone was so well behaved, and now it seems like we've got some people that are getting a little bit too aggressive, Tom. We saw this at Road America as well, where the second race was a little bit messier than the first, but wasn't expecting to see that difficult of a transition for these guys this week.
No, this lap through turn 1, the top 7 have been brought together in a big way. Chris Henn is also in this one. A little bit of a gap back to Steve Ficacci, who's still in frame, but the top 8 streaming through your screen. On the race control side, we have 3 incidents under review and 1 penalty assessed to Jack Sanchez. I don't know what that was for, but still potentially some race-affecting penalties coming in the last 7 laps of this one.
Tightening up for the lead, though, Brandon Hawken. I think he doesn't have the pace that he had in the first race of the night. Having a look here at the weather information, we've been watching it all night long. It continues to climb. It's 11 degrees hotter than it was in the qualifying session earlier today, so the temperature is going to keep rising. And if you've been beating up your tires out front, might start to feel that in your wheels here. And also the brakes. The hotter the track gets, the hotter your brakes are going to get too.
Yeah, Hawkins getting a taste of what Saxon had to deal with last time through. He's leading this thing at this point in the race, and he's going to be dealing with pressure for the last bit rather than responding to the leader and get to attack when he chooses. So he's in much less control in some aspects of this race than he was last time through. Del Campo, Saxon, White, Darling, Maloney, Henn, all trying to find a way through. Look at him stream across the start-finish line, almost nose to tail. You could throw a dartboard at this one. Who comes out on top?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of shuffling. We're about halfway through this one. More battling at the exit at turn 10. There's Christopher Namek making his move back forward. The 17 of Elijah Kloft trying to advance his positions. Alex Jensen. Well, here's a pop out of line by the 74. Seen a lot of those aggressive moves out to the right. They don't look as cool in an MX-5 as they do a Formula 1 car. A little wallowy there when you make that move.
We also had an attack for second place. They're back to single file, but Saxon was side by side with Del Campo for the entire run through turn 2 and up into turn 3. I think he actually lifted to make sure that they wouldn't go through turn 3 side by side and potentially lose the leader. So Saxon is starting to look a little bit racy in the 16 car. Remember, he swept race 1s and 2 at Road America, led the first half of race 1 tonight. Maybe trying to reassess his position and get a little bit aggressive here.
Paul Darling has been too quiet. I think he finished fifth or fourth in race 1, and I just expected him to be top 2 or 3. So I'm going to keep my eye on this yellow car because I don't think he's done making moves just yet. I think he's saving a little bit of extra for the tail end. Look at Justin Hall holding up the train here through turn 9. There's Kevin Zhu climbing forward, Mitchell Peak, Greg Profeta, Thomas Bresci at the tail of this. Out of line, Mitchell Peak going defensive on Profeta, but into turn 10. Oh, more contact I hear. That was Peak on the back of Zhu through turn 10, a little wide there.
Zhu's got a great run. That's the black and purple car. He's from 22nd to 15th on the grid this time through, and that's a heck of a charge. He's got a little bit of a buffer. Peak and Profeta drafting a lot of damage on the back of that Peak car, the orange and gray.
And a lot of damage on the front of the 29. I think this was the coming together that we saw at the tail end of turn 10. Here's Bresci moving back forward. Door opens on driver's right. He's going to try to sneak up the inside. Door gets slammed shut through turn 2. Bresci going the wrong direction in this one. A lot of dust cloud at the exit of turn 3 as well. Whoop. The internet not behaving with Profeta tonight.
I'm trying to remember, I think we saw Bresci off early on, maybe in turn 1 or turn 5
I think. Yep.
On that first lap. So he's in recovery mode at this point. The car looks pretty clean though, so the car should be quick. He's just got to deal with this cluster around him as Suzu trying to pick up another position, but opens the door for the 56. Pete shows the nose, turns him just a little bit, loosens him up. They're going to go side by side over the curbs in the S's.
That was a lot of fun to watch. Hippity hoppity, curbs the property as the 40 or the 56 takes a jump over them through the S's, and Kevin Zhu hangs on for now. Up in front, track and tires out in the gravel. 4 laps to go. I think the race is about to kick off here. Jonathan White leaving a 0.6 of a second gap. Here it is for the lead. Del Campo out driver's right.
Interesting to see Saxon goes with him, kind of picks the middle actually to see he's got both options open. The 15 deep on the brakes, Del Campo to the lead, but overshoots it just a little bit. Actually pins Hawken to the outside. Saxon gets the run up the inside, but Saxon does not have the preferred side of the track for turn 3. What does he do?
That's a frustrating move from Del Campo. If I'm Brandon Hawken, kind of put the block on him there. Oh, there goes the 15 car around the outside now to hang on to that spot. Now for second, it's a Hornet's Nest. Jonathan White right back into the mix. He left a bit of a gap, I think, for this exact reason. Saw the pass was going to happen, more pushing and shoving. They're getting elbows out here. And Paul Darling watching from 5th. Really exciting in front of him.
You heard all that lifting in Jonathan White's car. He was trying to get back in line because he realized that move was not going to go well. And all these guys know how this ebb and flow goes. If you battle for too many corners back to back, you'll lose the cars in front. All of them know they're racing for the wrong position right now. They want to be battling for the lead. They're 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So they're going to do their best to, if it's going to be an attack, make it clean, make it quick, and get away with it rather than make it go on for 3, 4, 5 corners at a time.
I'm watching Brandon Hawken because he got shuffled back to 3rd. You know who else got shuffled back to 3rd at a moment like this? It was Nathan Saxon. So exactly reverse the roles. That's where we are right now. Both times Nathan, or the 15 and Nick Del Campo, did not find himself at the right end of the ship here. So he's going to try to stay there. Nathan Saxon jukes back to the left. Now slipstream down the front straight. Drag race for the lead. 3 to go here at Summit Point.
That was a huge lane change for Saxon, and everybody followed him, but he's not going to attack this time.
There he goes.
Almost baits Del Campo into an over-under, but he missed a shift potentially. That was a big,
sloppy.
Yeah, that was a big misshift. And Hawken around the outside will probably take this one easily.
Yeah, here comes Hawken, and now Paul Darling and Jonathan White getting into the mix. They're all going to fight for second. They know second's where you have to be if you want to win this race. Can't win it from 3rd or 4th or 5th. You got to be up in P2.
And Saxon finds himself once again in 3rd at this stage of the race. Maloney pops to the inside of Darling. This is 5th and 6th. Darling, black and yellow, Maloney, white and maroon. He's going to hold the outside of turn 5. Has a nose on Darling. Does he keep it there? Oh, they almost touch.
I'd have to think if you're back in 6th at this point, it's a little bit too late, but they're still giving it everything they got to go for that top spot.
Well, remember, Maloney started the night 15th, so he probably doesn't know what too late means. He's going to pick every position he possibly can. He sits 2nd in the championship before tonight and really wants to be up towards the guys that he's battling.
Coming to 2 laps to go, 4 miles of racing left. Brandon Hawken has put himself back in the prime position here. Saxon behind him might give him a push. Del Campo tracking through the dirt. 2 laps to go. Birds chirping, it's all quiet until the field comes rumbling by.
First birds, then angry bees. Down the front straightaway. Hawken not quite close enough this time through. It would be a big lunge. No moves this time, other than Maloney is a little bit out of line. Hen is trying to around the outside. They slot back into line.
I know exactly why that 99 didn't make the move, because he doesn't want to be the driver out front when the next guy makes that move next time around. I think turn 1, at least from what we saw from race 1, turn 1 next lap is your last opportunity to get it done, as long as the leader doesn't make a mistake. So Hawken is planning this out. His brain is not saying to take the lead now. It's going to be about turn 1 in a lap, but he might surprise me here in a moment.
Yeah, I agree. And what's proven to be challenging is completing the pass in turn 1. It tends to start in turn 1 and end right about here, if not exiting turn 3. So whatever happens in turn 1 will probably take a couple corners to sort out, and it's going to have a huge ripple on this entire top 8 as they figure this thing out. Hawken touches the back of Del Campo at the apex of 7, and then they string back out. Saxon has a little bit of a run on Hawken because of it.
No, it's just a little bit of a, hello, I'm here, check your mirrors. And I think Del Campo is very well aware of the presence of the entire field behind him. but he's got 2 miles to figure out how to keep him there. Hawkin looking out to the right. That's just a fake, just to try to throw Del Campo offline. He won't take the bait. Climb the curb here. Now white flag in the air. One more lap around, and Hawkins got to run. He's going to go for it here, but the question is, will Saxon try to as well?
This is interesting. Hawkins going to inherit the outside through turn 1. You can slingshot it, but it's going to be really tough. Saxon goes with him, pushes him up in front of Del Campo. They're deep on the brakes down into turn 1, nose to nose.
Saxon wants the opportunity to go. He's going to get it again. Hawkins runs wide, gets the tires in the gravel. He goes back to second place. Hawkins going to lose another spot here, maybe to Jonathan White. Just overdrove it a little bit too much speed, and now Saxon is in prime position. Yeah,
potentially freight train there. No, White is still side by side. He was super brave. They touch, gets a big wiggle, goes out into the dirt. He's going to lose a couple of spots, salvages it nicely. Darling picks up 1.
More drivers all going to, they smell blood in the water with that move, so they're all going to try to jump on it. White's going to drop back to 7th. Chris Henn up the inside of Maloney. Maloney on the outside of Darling. Everybody overlapping everybody. Here's Steve Ficacci jumping in the mix as well from 8th. But up front, Saxon now finds himself in a reversed role from the previous race. And I'm not sure he's going to be able to get there, Tom. We just haven't seen anybody be able to make this move. Greg Profeta's gone off in the background. All focus up front, though. Ooh, a mistake there by Del Campo. This could get close.
Problem is you just don't slow down much for this final corner at turn 10. So while you do have this run, he's going to close up onto the brakes. And unless there's a mistake, it's going to be really easy for Del Campo to bring this one home.
That might be.
2 off, both of them.
Here they come. Checkered flag waving. Saxon's going to be close. It's not going to be close enough, though. Nick Del Campo will win his race. First race of the season here at Summit Point. Then Saxon, Hawkin, White, Darling. The rest of your top 5, or did Maloney grab 5th? It looks like Maloney might have gotten it. Darling 4th, Maloney 5th, then Chris Henn, White, Ficacci, Paloonin, and Thompson grabs the top 10. More drivers coming back to the checker side by side. Mitchell Peak brings home a 14th spot. That was closer than we thought. 81 thousandths of a second between them at tail end there, Tom. But Nick Del Campo, his first win of the season, coming to the checkers. Well done, well defended. But Brandon Hawkin took the opportunity, couldn't get it. He has still had victory elude him in race number 2, but race 1 again, he was able to bounce back. So here is a look at your race results again for our second and final race of the night here, Tom. Let's start with our front runners. Again, Nick Del Campo finally breaking the curse. He gets it done. Saxon, P2. Great points night for that 16 car, though I'm sure he'll walk out of here with a healthy points lead.
Yeah, really good night, even with the struggles in race 1. Brandon Hawkin, a good charge, picks up his first win of the season. Paul Darling, quiet as you mentioned, but a really good championship night. Also, Ryan Maloney, I got to give him a lot of credit. Qualified 15th, could have had a terrible night, but keeps himself in the hunt for that championship. Came in tonight in 2nd. He picks up a 6th and a 5th, I think, on the grid to solidify a good championship night for him as well. Chris Henn recovers from a struggle at Road America for 6th. In race 2, and then White, Ficacci, Paloonin, and Thompson, the final drivers in the top 10.
Then back to 11th and beyond. Renaud Roland Hubert, another good night for him, another good race for him. Kevin Zhu, nice 12th place run for him in that 43. Some consistency there. Mitchell Peak, pretty solid night all things considered. Justin Hall, 15th place. Logan Walker, Shabelski, Carter Kundinger, Chris Namick, Chris Taylor, the rest of your top 20. Alex LaRose, 22nd here, Tom. Didn't climb as far as high as we thought he would. Considering I thought that LaRose would be battling for this championship, are we surprised perhaps that he has not had the start of the season that I expected?
Yeah, a bit, and I don't know that he has a whole lot of control of that. We saw him kind of get punted across the I don't know if he got punted, but moved across the infield here tonight. Had some struggles at Road America that were really due to a lot of cars around him, and I don't know that what I would advise him to do differently is just kind of been in the wrong place at the wrong time a number of times, as have other drivers. It's just he's been there consistently, and others have had bad incidents here and there.
Murphy Nichols, another disappointing night considering this is his home track. I'm sure he's unfortunately probably not thrilled with this result for him, but we will have our drivers to chat with. The first one we're going to talk to is actually going to be Nathan Saxon, who won both races at Road America, was just short of another pair of victories here tonight. Nathan, welcome, congratulations, a great points night. I'm sure you'll walk out of here pretty happy, but do you feel like you could have won both those races?
Yeah, I think any of the top 4 or 5 could have won either of those 2 races, so happy to walk out of here, hopefully still in the points lead. But yeah, that was really good racing. Congrats to Nick. I know he's been trying on this for a while.
Well, we talked about Road America being a super fast racetrack that's very drafty, but Summit Point races fundamentally differently. And I brought up the point that we head to Sonoma Raceway next, which I think races similarly to Summit Point. Your thoughts on how this race looked different than Road America, and will it look similar at Sonoma next time, do you think?
Definitely get away better this week, as I did in the beginning of the first race. But the draft was still pretty powerful, and if somebody was in draft range, you couldn't really get away. I think Sonoma might be one of the only tracks we go to that draft is really secondhand to just general pace.
Well, Nathan, a fifth and a second tonight, so congratulations, and we'll update everybody on the points situation next week, but you're going to be in a pretty good spot regardless, so congratulations on that, and we'll see you next time at Sonoma.
Thanks, Al. See you next week.
Thank you. In race number 2, it was Nick Del Campo that brought home the victory by 81 thousandths of a second over Nathan Saxon. Nick, congratulations. Finally getting the monkey off your back. You've gotten done here at Summit Point. I'm sure your heart rate is up and your breathing is probably crazy right now. Take us through those last couple laps and try to defend from a pretty angry swarm of drivers behind you.
Yeah, I mean, well, starters, I've drinking about 2 bottles of water since this race ended. My heart is racing. I don't think I could have taken another lap. But yeah, I mean, this league has really pushed me to just get a lot better at road racing. I'm not a road racer by name. I've raced circle track, so this is a bit of a new experience, and last year was very humbling. This league that you guys have put together, the broadcast, I mean, it's so professional, so top-notch. It's just pushed me to be better, and I tried to use every trick in the book there to hold Nathan off. I mean, Nathan's really like the guy right now. He's probably the fastest car on speed in here every week. And I don't think I could have held him off another lap, but I was using every trick in the book to do so.
Well, coming into the night 10th in points, you're going to walk out of here probably gaining a little bit. Again, you finished 3rd in race 1, 1st in race number 2. I'm sure you'll climb up in the points. Let's look ahead. All 9 rounds, we head to Sonoma next. That's going to be a challenging racetrack because of the lack of draft. But then we head to Mid-Ohio, Sebring, Road Atlanta, the Glen, Laguna Seca, and Coda. How comfortable do you feel about your chances of winning this championship based on your first 2 races, or first 2 rounds, I should say, have been rock solid?
Yeah, well, the first one was a little less than rock solid, didn't go too well, but we were all right. But in terms of looking forward, Sonoma, I'm not too much of a fan of, but you know, Watkins, Glen, Laguna, I'm really looking forward to. I have a lot of confidence, but I mean, to get the monkey off your back once, when you have confidence now, I could kind of come in here more comfortable, more relaxed, and that's only going to lead to better results. So I am definitely looking forward to the rest of the season. But I will say this. Whatever happens the rest of the year, I gotta win. No one can take that away from me. And this means a lot to me. I wish there was a video of when I crossed the line. I screamed like I would in a real race. So this one meant a lot.
Hey, Nick, congratulations. Enjoy it. I'm sure there'll be more numbers in the column later this year. So congratulations. Enjoy it. We'll see you at Sonoma in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you guys for putting this on. Thanks to my buddy, George Bark. He helped me get really better at racing, ARD. Advanced Racing Development. He sells wheel adapters, so if you guys want to buy one, help me out.
All right, Nick. Hey, thanks so much. We'll see you next time, buddy. See you later. We move on now to Brandon Hawken in the number 99. At Road America, he was denied a victory. Not so tonight. First place in race 1, a 3rd in race 2. Pretty solid results. You're going to end up leaving here with the same amount of points as race 2 winner Nick Del Campo. This time you got it done, though, Brandon, so congratulations. New to the series and already making waves. Take us through your night and battling up here in the front.
Wait, Kyle, man, yeah, that was a really great night of racing. Yeah, I didn't get quite the qualifying run I wanted to, same as last or a couple weeks ago, but yeah, using that first heat to make our way up there, and had a really great battles with everybody, and man, yeah, it was just really tight stuff. Like, I was just trying to manipulate the draft as everybody was battling, and just trying to keep them behind me. It was pretty intense. So I'm happy to come home with a win in the first race and a solid result for the second one as well.
Well, we're looking ahead at the points picture. Of course, we've got 9 rounds this season. We've now completed 2 of them. You came into the night, let's see here, well, 7th in the points. You're going to gain a bunch of spots this week, I think. How realistic is the championship, do you think, and are you strong at some of the remaining racetracks like Sonoma, Sebring, and Watkins Glen?
I'm a really big fan of Watkins Glen and Sonoma, so hopefully everything goes well there. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to continuing to race with these guys. It's been the racing's really tight and really clean, so yeah, just I have no idea what's to be expected coming into the next rounds, but you know, it's just we're just having a good time. You know, it's been a great time so far, and yeah, man, looking forward to it. Should be a good time.
All right, well, Brennan, well, congratulations on your first victory on the season. I'm sure there'll be many more. Good luck to you at Sonoma in 2 weeks. We'll talk to you there.
Much. Also, just want to do a quick apology to Jonathan White there on the last lap. I don't think I gave him quite enough room, but if you're listening to the story, John, I didn't mean to. Man, yeah, just really great racing all night. Thank you, everybody.
All right, Brennan. Hey, congratulations and thank you. We'll talk to you later at Sonoma. Good luck next time. All right, well, that's going to conclude our second round of the 2021 SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, Tom. We've seen a bit of everything so far, and I think we're starting to see who some of our strongest drivers are going to be all season long. Nick Del Campo, Nathan Saxon, Brandon Hawkin, Paul Darling, all the names we thought we would see, but it's a little closer than I thought it might be.
Yeah, Ryan Maloney in there too. That top 5 is really interesting to see. It didn't change much between Road America and here at Summit Point. It'll be interesting to see if anybody comes alive at Sonoma next week, or do these drivers continue to put their stamp on this thing?
Well, my name's Kyle Heyer alongside Tom O'Gorman. We've got our next race on February 10th right here on the Winding Road YouTube channel. It'll be here at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you there at Sonoma Raceway. Thanks again to our partners who have been with us this season. Of course, Level Up Racing School, Penguin RC Simulation, the SCDA, and Winding Road and SPEC MX-5. SCDA, founded in 1995, the Sportscar Driving Association provides the driving enthusiasts the opportunity to experience high-performance driving in a safe and controlled environment. SCDA events are non-competitive and driver educational with a focus on safety and fun. SCDA welcomes everyone from novices with no track experience to seasoned track drivers and racers. We invite you to explore them at www.scda.com to learn more. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next time here on Winding Road Magazine. My name's Kyle Heyer with Tom O'Gorman, Sonoma, California on February 10th, round number 3.